Draft day. Johnny Manziel. Years later, how am I the man
still?
Let's go.
Both of those guys he named suck.
Yeah, right?
They're terrible.
It was Wiggins and Manziel. Yo, hold on. You're moving the whole table.
My bad.
Jesus, slow down, baby. Slow down. Oh, you standing up? You about to get a light?
Yo, I'm here in the freestyle in the building.
Impy in the building, man. We're going to talk a little
We should just
NFL,
do standing up the whole
NFL
time.
Draft. Oh, I'd have to adjust the cameras because then it's going to be on the strudel, bro. We can't have that.
Doesn't what's his name do standing up? Pat McAfee.
He stands up.
He does everything.
Sits
That
down.
guy's the fucking man.
Yeah, he's
My
out of
bad.
control.
I'm pulling everything.
No, you're good. I don't know what's going on. Like, what are you doing over here?
It's just I'm trying to get comfortable.
Are you excited about having a new quarterback?
Yeah. It's going to happen. It was minus 250 the other day. It's probably minus 400 after the pro day.
So we're gonna talk about the draft, but
Is it
I don't
recording?
really want to do. What's up?
Are you recording?
Yeah, I started already.
Oh.
Wow, you nervous?
I had no idea you started recording.
I've been doing that lately, just because I like the natural.
Yeah, I'm
No one
down.
says anything chaotic to
You didn't introduce anybody.
Nah.
You were going to...
Last time when I had David on, David Hill from The Ringer, about like 12 minutes in, I was like, yeah, I do a terrible job of introducing
I
my
saw
guest
that
like
clip.
right away. But yeah, man, I press record and we kind of just flow into it.
Yeah. Pumped for the draft.
Yeah, so what I want to do with this one, not so much, it's going to be a combination of a mock draft, general thoughts about
Players.
players, schemes, teams, the whole nine.
Yeah.
Now, I hate the draft process.
Yeah.
It's probably my least favorite thing that I do.
I feel that.
And then draft grades is tied for that.
Even worse.
Nobody knows nothing.
I think the draft is fun. The draft grades are terrible. If you can separate the two, I think you're fine. Because I think, obviously, there's an art to this, right? Obviously, there's a randomness to it, and you can be completely wrong. But I do think, some people are better at it than others.
Mm-hmm. When you look at mock drafts, when you do mock drafts in your head, I don't even know what this napkin is about. That's kind of weird. But when you go about the draft process, what's your general draft philosophy? What do you look for? What are you into? What excites you? Good footwork?
Good footwork. I love high IQ.
High IQ, yeah. The draft cliche.
Student of the game.
Yeah. High motor guy is usually a slow white dude that just always makes plays.
Quick, deceptively fast.
Yeah. Another is a slot white wide receiver. Yeah.
First one in, last one out kind of guy.
Yeah.
Lateral footwork, sensational. I don't know. You want me to be serious there?
No, I'm just saying, what do you look for when? Because for me, so what I meant by that is, I don't think anybody really knows what these draft prospects turn into. Because you just look at the history of the draft. It's always, if you really look at the first round in particular, a third of them become Pro Bowlers and All Pros. Mm-hmm. A third of them are traded, cut, or released from that first team that drafts them. They don't get a second contract. And then a third of them, the final third, basically they're decade players, meaning they'll play for 10 plus years, but they'll be like your Matt Slaters, right? They'll turn into Ahmad Bradshaws, guys that are going to be on a roster for about a decade, and they're going to be very okay. That's the whole first round.
Okay.
So how do you identify which one's going to be which?
You can't.
Because I remember everyone was like, yo, how does Dwayne Haskins fall to 15? Congrats, off the team in 18 games. So nobody knows is always my approach. Now, I do like the idea of, and what I like to do is team need.
Yeah.
Right? So you're the Jacksonville Jaguars, right? You need a quarterback. So them taking a quarterback, I understand. Trevor Lawrence is going to be unanimous. He's like minus 10,000.
Urban Meyer took the job knowing that he was going to take Trevor Lawrence.
Right. If you're a team like Detroit, right, you have a lot of holes. There, that goes to what your draft board is, what you think. Should it be a quarterback now that Matthew Stafford left, stopgap with Jared Goff? If you're a team like Atlanta and they're rumored to draft Pitts, I don't get it. You just signed Austin Hooper to relatively decent sized contract. So when I approach the draft, I look at it more so as what does that team need?
Okay. And you don't worry about best player available and not worry about missing at higher up at the top of the draft. That's not something that you think about.
No, because I think, well, it's all subjective to what your team is currently, right? One of the reasons why I always say that if you have a quarterback, you can get away with a lot of funky shit.
Yeah.
Remember when the Colts, Philip Dorsett. The fuck was Philip Dorsett? He ran a fast 40, and all of a sudden he's a first-round pick. They took that French kid. No, not French. He was like German. Warner. He was the defensive end from Florida State.
Okay.
He was like a project. He was a raw project kind of player. They took him in the first round. So when you have a quarterback, you could cover up all the holes on your roster when you miss in the first round. Now, when you don't, if you're Jacksonville and you miss on Trevor Lawrence, which I'm not saying that's going to happen, but the concept behind it, that looks even worse. That's when people get fired.
I wanted to – that's funny that you went that way because I wanted to mention that it's also the safe thing to do is take Trevor Lawrence, right? You think about the new regime in there, right? Trent Baalke. You think about Urban Meyer, and you think of the new staff in Jacksonville. For the past 3-4 years, we've been fed Trevor Lawrence, right? It's the safe pick. If you pick him and it doesn't work out, you say everyone else was going to pick him.
Okay, so that's another complaint that I have.
So, but it's absolutely true.
Right, but again, that's all subjective to whose mock drafts you're a fan of, who are the pundits that you're listening to. Because when you hear a guy fell in the draft, that's according to who?
Yeah, that's fair.
Because
to the media.
It's to the media, the general media. If I make a mock draft, right? Like when I play fantasy football, I make a mock draft. I rank the players according to what I like. I really spend the entire month of August until our draft. Also, we only do one draft, so it's easier for me. So when I take a guy with the 8th pick, Matthew Berry might have him number 2. I might have him number 8. So to me, I got him right. That's the right value where I got him. You might be looking at Matthew Berry and be like, yo, you got to steal, son. How do you drop all the way? But that's according to who you're a fan of and you're following.
I agree. Although I will say this Trevor Lawrence situation, I think, is completely different.
Yes, I'm not saying
Okay.
Like, yes,
in general,
I get that.
absolutely,
Yes,
absolutely.
I'm on board. But I'm saying in general, when you hear the term, oh, that's a steal, he dropped in the draft, Impy. Well, that's according to whose mock draft that you're listening to and following.
Without a doubt. And also what front offices do, by the way, is they have friends in the media. You don't think they try to either keep guys' names down or try to pump other guys' names up to potentially, let's not talk too much about this guy. We really like him at the back half of the first round or early in the second round. Don't talk about this guy too much.
What do they say? Smoke screens?
Yeah, smoke screen. All smoke, all smoke, no fire.
Yeah, it's a smoke screen. Oh man, they're gonna take this guy number 2, and then.
So, and that's why I love Sims, man. We were talking about who breaks down quarterbacks and whose mock drafts do you kind of opt into, and who's which of these analysts do you like? I like Sims the most because he says it all the time. He has aspirations to be in a front office. He has aspirations to be a GM or a player personnel guy. So he always references this statement like, if I'm ever taking an interview in 5-10 years, and an owner asks me, oh, you put this quarterback ahead of this quarterback, like he had Tua like third, I think, last year, and everyone thought like, oh, he was crazy for having Tua third. He had Burrow first, Herbert second, Tua third, right? Not for nothing. It's kind of he kind of looked right there. Mm-hmm. And the year before or 2 years before that, he had Mahomes first, he had he had him at the top. He had Lamar Jackson at the top that year. He's hit pretty high numbers here. He's also hit on Josh Allen. So I like the guys who have no like skin in the game, or the guys who basically say like, I want to do this. I'm not gonna just put this content out for clickbait. You know what I'm trying to say? He really takes pride in his rankings, and he really takes pride in his evaluations because he wants to do it. He's not just this guy talking shit on ESPN. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That's kind of one of the reasons why I really gravitate towards Sims. Chris Sims is who I'm referring to, by the way. Pro Football Talk, NBC Sports.
Yeah, former quarterback in the league too.
Yeah. Phil Sims' son.
Yeah. Lefty gang, lefty stroke.
He was in the Patriots organization.
He was with the Bucks too.
With the Bucks
I think he made the playoffs with the Bucks. Mike Allstott.
He's super tight with Kyle Shanahan. He's tight with a bunch of people, but big Chris Sims fan. Big Chris Sims fan.
So when you look at mock drafts, which ones do you like looking at? Do you like ones that are based on team need or best player available? What is your preference?
I feel like you think a lot of mock drafts look the same?
Yeah,
that's fair.
Especially the first 15 picks.
Yeah, it's like, oh, this team needs a corner. Who's the first corner of it? Who's the best corner? The consensus best corner? Okay, he's going to that team, right? That's kind of...
They start to lose me after pick 20. A lot of the draft cliches all start to pop up, and not so much in football, more so in the NBA.
Yeah,
where you'll get some kid from Hofstra.
It's
where you might not see him, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So you're basing that all off highlight tapes.
You couldn't be more right, because these NFL teams, they put grades on all of these players, right? And to them, it's like, okay, this guy who is, I'm doing air quotes here if you can't watch the video, he's projected to be a top 5 pick, right? And, there's 3 stud receivers this year, right? It's like, okay, well, they've graded them all pretty damn close. It's like, we don't have to, force one of these wide receivers, down our throat. We can kind of wait and take another one who's maybe not as highly touted, and if they're all graded the same. So I'm with you. It's all smoke, bro. It's teams rate their guys, and they see where they fall. If they want to move up and take a player, they'll do that. I really don't love mock drafts either, dude. I really don't. I'm with you on that. It's not exciting.
Yeah, it's cool to have people that you're a fan of. So you said Chris Sims. Is that just for quarterbacks?
Yeah, mainly just quarterbacks. But I read the Chris Sims gospel. He evaluates all positions. He'll do wide receivers. Obviously, he'll do edge rushers. He'll do corners and safeties. He'll kind of break it up in that way, and then he'll give top 5, top 6 players at that position. He doesn't really do mock drafts because he kind of subscribes to what you're saying. He doesn't. He rather just rank his guys. That's it, because that's what he does. He does player evaluation. He's not going to sit here and pretend like he knows who's going to trade up for who and who's going to do that. He just rates the guys and leaves it at that. And he takes pride in it.
What position do you like following the most when it comes to draft season?
Quarterbacks. Because these are going to be the future stars in the NFL. Right? That's the way I see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun whenever there's a draft class like this where you got so many names that are going to go in the first round.
A lot of good quarterbacks.
There's a way, dude, where the first 5 picks could all be, the first 4 picks can all be quarterbacks, depending on what you think Atlanta does.
Yep.
But, obviously Trevor Lawrence to Jacksonville, that's
booked.
Yeah, it's booked. That's been booked since... that was the tank for Trevor.
It was booked when the Jets won that game at the end of the year last year, right?
That's right. Yeah, that game that they ended up winning.
Yeah.
So I do think that the draft really starts
at 3.
Oh, so you're sold on
it's happening.
Zack Wilson to the Jets. Thoughts?
Stud. Best quarterback in the draft. Stud.
Really?
Yeah.
Even better than Trevor Lawrence?
Yeah.
Okay. Here's the thing. I don't agree with that sentiment, cool. But I do like Zack Wilson. He fits the mold of the quarterback that I like.
Mahomes, Rodgers.
No. Listen, we need to stop comparing fucking quarterbacks to Mahomes and Rodgers.
Watch.
What I was saying is that he went to BYU. I love a quarterback that plays at slap-dick schools like that. And what I mean by that is no disrespect to BYU, but you're not Bama, you're not Michigan, you're not Clemson, you're not Ohio State.
Your talent around you ain't that elite.
You're not a national power that makes the Final Four.
I kind of think that's overrated, right? It's like, oh, he didn't go up against great talent. All right. What about the talent surrounding him? He wasn't throwing to first-round wide receivers like Mac Jones was. And I like Mac Jones too, by the way. I'm not saying that to slight Mac Jones in any way. He's not throwing to the receivers that Trevor Lawrence is throwing to. Trevor Lawrence is throwing to wide-open wide receivers all of the time. Zack Wilson has to fit balls into tight windows all of the time. Bro, his mechanics are flawless. He's going to be a stud. Unreal arm, dude. Super athletic. He's going to be better than Trevor Lawrence.
I'm on NFL.com right now, and I'm reading an article ranking the 59 starting quarterbacks entering 2021. I'm going to mention them to you. And let's not go with, oh, nah, he should be 3. I'm going to mention the 10 that they have, and I'm going to mention the school that they went to. Half of them did not go to your... They are Power 5 schools. Don't get it twisted. But they're not your
Alabama
national championship kind of teams. Aaron Rodgers, Cal. Tom Brady, Michigan. Mahomes, Texas Tech. Watson, Clemson. Josh Allen, Wyoming. Russell Wilson, NC State, Wisconsin. But majority of his career, NC State. Lamar Jackson, Louisville. Ryan Tannehill, Texas A&M.
Yep.
Prior to
Converted wide receiver. Justin Herbert, Oregon, which the knock on Oregon all these years was one read and they go, meaning go like they're going to tuck and run. It was Mariota. It's all those like random Hawaiian dudes that will come in. And then Kyler Murray coming out of Oklahoma. So you get what I'm saying? Yeah.
These quarterbacks, they're not coming from teams that are winning national championships and they got 5-star recruits all over.
Yeah.
And that's the knock that I think you see with guys like that come from Alabama.
Yeah.
All these quarterbacks that come from Bama, who Tua, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt right now because he's coming off that serious injury. But like Mac Jones,
I like Mac Jones too.
Can
make all the throws.
That's one of the worst. I hate hearing
He can, though.
But that you should be able to.
But it's not the same.
Bro, that's not an impressive.
Tua, okay, watch Alabama. No, see, you have to watch Alabama with Tua at the helm and watch Alabama with Mac Jones at the helm. The offense is completely different. Completely different. Tua, read option. If it's not there, slant. If not, it's a deep pass. Mac Jones, he's evaluating. He's 3, 4, 5 reads. I'm telling you, it's night and day different. Tua and Mac Jones, completely different. I'm telling you, straight up. Like, yo, you're going to laugh. You want to hear, like, a comparison I have for Mac Jones? Like a Phillip Rivers. He's not mobile, right? But he can stand in the pocket. He's big, extremely accurate, can kind of go through the motions. I'm telling you, Mac Jones is going to be a lot better than people think.
Okay.
But he's an Alabama guy, which is fair. But the offense was different. Less bullshit slip screens, more vertical, less like college offense, more of a
pro style offense.
With Mac Jones. Night and day. Watch.
Okay. Does it concern you at all that he's a 1-year starter?
No, because that's Alabama. What are you gonna do? Like,
Tua played multiple years.
Yeah, but didn't he come in the second year? Like halfway through this year, or was that the third year?
That was the third year.
Okay. Look. Tua's awesome or good, right? Great,
right?
But
we're talking about him at Bama,
yeah,
right now, right? Now what's happened in the NFL?
It was just a different offense. Like the Tua stuff was very collegey. It was very, I don't want to say gimmicky, but it was very like, okay, I'm making one read and I'm making a decision. If it's not there, I'll run and I'll tuck it or I'll throw it away. Like Mac Jones, the offense was way more intricate. Like he's just like not that mobile. Like that's the thing. Like. I'm telling you, Mac Jones is probably gonna go third, and people thought he was gonna make it to 15. Like I think the Patriots draft 15, he's gonna get taken third. Shanahan, or even like a Matt Ryan comparison, big tall dude in the pocket, like extremely accurate, super smart. Like yo, they're raving about Mac Jones' IQ. That's another one, obviously, like football IQ, but that's another one where he's like really super smart. Joe Burrow, like night and day different for sure. Yo, I know you're thinking I'm crazy, but it's true.
So he just there's a lot of red flags for me that are concerning with him. If he goes to San Francisco, that is probably the best landing spot for him because Kyle Shanahan has done wonders with dirt at quarterback all this time. Yeah. And then that's the only thing that will make me feel better because he's going to go to a guy that knows what to do with quarterbacks that are not as talented. Now, here's the thing, though. He's a 1-year starter. He's coming from Alabama, who they have 2 wide receivers projected in the top 20 consensus.
Yeah.
And they have that running back, Harris, that's
probably going to go at the end of the first or early second.
Or if not, he should be like a top 3 running back. He'll be starting on your fantasy team next year. So I'm not as optimistic as you are. I like Zack Wilson better because Zack Wilson, to play himself into this position to be a top 3 pick coming from BYU, That just means so. I had this conversation with my friend Jess. She does a podcast called Pigskins and Pageantry. And shout out to Wes and Matt. And, it's an SEC podcast. And I've been on it a couple of times. And she was on the show, too, before the national championship. And I was actually talking about Mac Jones and Justin Fields. And then I also brought up a guy like Zack Wilson, where if I have 3 prospects that I think all are the same, I'm going to go with the guy coming from a lesser school that elevated himself to be in that tier with those other guys.
I like it.
Because that just means more to me because he's not doing it with Devontae Smith and Waddle and all these guys that are going to be top picks.
Yeah.
That just means that he's more productive with less around him.
I couldn't agree with you more. And what you're saying will boost up Zack Wilson, right? And it will kind of, it could potentially throw some shade on a Mac Jones, right, to your point. But also a Trevor Lawrence. Think about Trevor Lawrence. He's been on the best. Every game Trevor Lawrence played, he was on the best team. He had the best players around him. And not for nothing, the conference that he played in, not that elite. ACC, couple good teams. The rest, not that good. And also when you think about some of these other college schools where like you try to shit on Zack Wilson, you say like, oh, he played on BYU and he played against really bad schools. Like, college defenses aren't that elite, right? Like, there's some big fucking shootouts, right? 45-52s, 42-49s. Like, let's not sit here and pretend like some of these defenses in college football are elite where you're going up against, like, legit NFL stars. Like, a lot of the NFL talent is, like, in the SEC. You know what I'm trying to say? It's spread out across the board, too, but it's in specific places. So I hate when people say, like, oh, he didn't play against good talent. Like, some of these dudes played on the best teams in the league, and their opponents weren't that great either. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, let's cut it out.
That's a good point about the SEC and some of the defenses. And even like, you look at a dude like Mahomes and Baker and Kyler Murray, when they came out, they were playing in arcade offenses too and against defenses that were shitty. There was the Baker-Mahomes game that was like 68-57 or some shit.
Without a doubt. And a lot of the slights that you want to throw on a Zack Wilson or you want to throw on a Mahomes, right? It's oh, he turned the ball over a little bit. Yeah, because his team isn't good, and he had to score on every single drive. And if he didn't score on every single drive, they lost the game because he had to put up 50 points a game. So excuse me if he potentially made 1 or 2 bad decisions. He was trying to make up for everything that his team lacked. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, it's night and day, man. It's interesting, and I'm pumped about Zack Wilson, dude. I know you called me crazy for saying Mahomes, but he really has that freestyle in him, that backyard football, that improvisational type of game where he can roll to the right, roll to the left. He doesn't run to run. He runs to find space and then beat you down the field with his fucking hose of an arm.
Do you get turned on by pro days?
Not really. But Zack Wilson's pro day was sensational because, like, okay, everyone's seen the throw that he made, right? The rolling to the left.
Yeah. And
Off
you feel
his
like
back
a post.
foot.
Yeah,
60 yards down the field. And then was it Trey Wingo and Louis Riddick went on Twitter the next day and said, oh, I've never seen anyone make that throw before. And they tweet the video of Sam Darnold making the throw.
Like in an NFL game.
Which is cool. He's wearing pads. He's wearing a helmet, and he's making that throw. You're right.
Against NFL defense.
Against NFL defense, that's right. But it wasn't as long of a throw. It wasn't as strong of a throw. And 3, let me give you the third. Yes, it was a pro day. But he was confident in himself enough with everyone watching, every NFL team watching, to basically say, I'm confident in myself. I can make this throw, and I could do it like nothing. Mm-hmm. And that's what he did. Not other guys aren't doing that in their pro days. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, Jamarcus Russell threw the ball on his knee 80 yards. That's cool. Like, it's not the same. Like, this guy made all of the throws with like rolling to the left, rolling to the right, just unreal, off his back foot, in the air. Like, he can make all of those types of Rodgers throws where, like, that's why I get excited. And Matt LaFleur is Rodgers' head coach in Green Bay.
Yeah, Mike LaFleur, his brother,
is the offensive coordinator with the Jets now. There's a lot of similarities, man, like the throwing on the run. The BYU offense, like, it wasn't as gimmicky. Like, I mentioned this before about, like, the 2 offenses. Like, think about Trevor Lawrence, too. Trevor Lawrence completes 75% of his passes because he's throwing 11 screens a game. You know what I'm saying? Like, of course, Zack Wilson's completion percentages aren't going to be as high. He's fucking he's ripping lasers 40-yard ins. It's like it's different.
Yeah, well, completion percentage in general has become a very misleading statistic in football.
Come on, man.
You really have to. Drew Brees and like Sam Bradford have set NFL historical seasons with completion percentage. And it's all checkdowns. It's all to Kamara underneath. It's all to Michael Thomas. So I got into a debate on Twitter, and someone said that I was crazy and I should watch, which is always funny when they tell me to watch football because that's like the only thing that I really watch. But it was very misleading, bro. Go back and watch Michael Thomas in 2019. There's a compilation on YouTube.
I think you sent me it before.
Yeah, it's on YouTube, not the other tube, all right? I see how you get all jacked up over there. But, about 120 of his passes are all underneath 10 yards from the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
So, completion percentage is misleading.
Yeah.
I think interceptions are misleading, too.
Yeah.
Throw picks. If you throw an interception on 3rd and 13, I'm not going to crucify you for that. Where don't throw interceptions inside your 20 and inside their 20, right? Because then it's a short field for you. It's basically a bona fide punt if you're throwing a pick on like 3rd and 18.
Yeah.
That's just how I feel. My question to you now is, what happens with Sam Darnold?
He'll probably get traded for something similar to Carson Wentz.
3rd round picks.
It'll be a trade. Denver makes a lot of sense. I think potentially Carolina could make some sense, although I think Carolina, I don't know. I really think the Niners are going to take Mac Jones, and so we'll see what Carolina does in the draft. But I think Denver's an interesting place. There's a couple other places he could go, but the truth is, there's 2 reasons. You'd think, we could just keep Sam Darnold on our bench, and we'll start. Nope, you don't exactly. You shook your head. It's not. You don't want to bring a rookie number 2 pick in to compete with Sam Darnold.
With a young guy under a new regime, that's like having. That's like finding a new girlfriend and having your ex-girlfriend still living at your apartment.
Nope.
It's just not going to work out.
Not going to work out. Wow, that was an interesting.
Was that a good analogy, though? Yeah. I was pretty popping. I'm proud of myself for that one.
And it's nothing against Sam Darnold, man, because he could probably go somewhere else and be a pretty solid quarterback, too. But it's just... And another thing is the contract.
Ideal situation for him? Carbon copy of Ryan Tannehill's career?
Yeah.
Perfect landing spot? Pittsburgh.
Yeah. Well, the problem with Pittsburgh is... Okay, the problem with Pittsburgh is if he goes to Pittsburgh this year, he'll sit on the bench as the backup. But it'll be a great backup in case Ben gets hurt. I'm with you there. But here's the problem with Pittsburgh. He goes to Pittsburgh this year. His contract is like $8-9 million this year. Perfect. That's actually low for a backup. Pretty good backup, right? Next year, you know what his contract is? Like $25 million. I think the problem. I don't know if Pittsburgh would keep him as a backup this year and then opt into that $25 million contract next year because Big Ben may want to play next year too. I could like it as a backup. I think he goes somewhere where he could prove it this year and then he potentially being the quarterback next year. That's what I think. So that's why I said like a Carolina or maybe a Denver where, he has that opportunity to prove it and then be the quarterback down the line. That's the way I see it. But you never really know. You're going to get, I think the trade is going to be like a 3rd round pick that maybe becomes a 2nd round pick if Darnold plays with some type of like kickers in it. Similar to the Wentz deal. The Wentz deal becomes a 1st round pick or a 1st and a 2nd or something like that if Wentz plays 14 games.
Yeah, and if they make the playoffs, it's one of those weird contracts.
That's going to be the Sam Darnold trade.
Incentive based.
It's going to be the Sam Darnold trade.
Well, I think with Pittsburgh, what's interesting about going there is, one, they have a pretty talented roster, which I think Big Ben holds them back.
That's valid.
And it's weird because we've seen 2 versions of the Steelers the last 2 years. We saw one without Ben, and everyone was salivating at the mouth. I actually had them to win the division last year, plus 375. Shouts to me, pat myself on the back any chance I get, because they were getting Ben back. Now, though, I think Ben is good enough to be the Steeler quarterback because what the Steelers have on their roster sucks, quarterback-wise. But I do think he holds them back from what their ceiling could be.
They should go back to old-time Steeler football. Instead of throwing the ball 50 times a game, let's pound the rock and throw it 20 times a game.
There's an issue, though. they're more talented and stacked at wide receiver than they are at running back. I
Yeah.
think Steelers go after a running back, whether in the draft or, I mean, there's no one really in free agency right now that's available that can have an impact like that. But if I'm Sam Darnold, I'm kind of and if you're anyone like Sam Darnold, I think what you're looking at is exactly what Ryan Tannehill did.
Yeah.
You go to a team that has a very suspect starting quarterback that if he has a 2-3 game stretch that's bad, they're going to pull the plug on him, i.e. Mariota, right? Mariota, a lot of question marks. Can he stay healthy? Let's get Ryan Tannehill an experienced starter. What happens? Tannehill gets thrown in. They go on that run.
Contract.
End up beating the Pats. Gets paid. Contract extension. Now he's the guy in Tennessee. No questions asked. That's what I think the most optimal route for a resurgence for Sam Darnold would be.
Yeah. The thing is, I agree with you. I just don't think I don't think he's going to sit on the bench. I think he's still held in high enough regard where wherever he lands, he can, battle for a starting quarterback job and get said starting quarterback job. That's just, I don't think he's going to want to go somewhere and say, I'm cool with sitting.
The team has a 5th-year player option on him, which would be for $18 million. I got it right here in front of me. So he could be a free agent after this season.
Yeah.
So say you're Pittsburgh, what you could do is, and if you're Sam Darnold, you go to a team like Pittsburgh. You sit. If you come in and you step in and you go on a Ryan Tannehill type run, you can maybe get franchised. You get franchised, you're gonna make north of $35 million.
Yeah.
Take that 1-year deal. You bet on yourself. I kind of love that shit. And then from there, you test the waters after.
Yeah.
You're a quarterback. You're not as likely when you get franchised. Dude, ask Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins has made the most money of any player in the last decade in the NFL because of the 2 years he got franchised and then his contract, which was ridiculous, where he really started. Have you noticed some of the contracts lately?
Well, he got the big guaranteed money.
Yeah, but he also took like a 3-year deal as opposed to a 7-year deal because he's like, yo, I'll take a lesser duration with more guaranteed money.
Yeah. I feel like that was Revis. I feel like Revis started that. Remember when Revis signed that first deal he got traded to Tampa and then he re-signed or something? He got like one of the first like all guaranteed deals.
It was the beginning of the front loaded stuff, and then even with like Drew Brees, Drew Brees got that too. So it's gonna be fun to see what happens with the Jets there. Obviously, I think that Sam Darnold eventually does go. So you're hell bent on Mac Jones being third?
Yes. Because look, let me explain to you. It's almost, to me, it's like a process of elimination. You don't trade up to third and take a project. Although you do have Jimmy G.
Well, hold on. Who's the project?
Trey Lance.
You don't like Justin Fields?
I like Justin Fields, but I'm a little higher on Mac. Yeah.
Well, the Niners, I just want to put this out there because I've been seeing some people talk about like, if you're playing fantasy football, it'd be dope if like Kyle Pitts goes to San Fran.
Not happening.
It's not happening. If you trade up in the draft, you're going to get a quarterback.
They're taking a quarterback. They're taking a quarterback.
Okay, so, man, I don't know what's up with Justin Fields. How come so many people are off him?
I mean, look, you know me. I'm not a professional football evaluator, but the consensus is there are some mechanic issues. He's sensational throwing the ball down the field, and he's a sensational runner. But there's, there's some footwork issues. There's some no, it's true.
Nah, I'm laughing because of like that's our thing, right? Good footwork. Good posture in the pocket.
There's some mechanic issues with Justin Fields. A little inconsistencies. He's airmailed some balls, and again, Ohio State stacked, runs through the conference. You know what I mean? It was Justin Fields and Trevor Lawrence who were fed to us from high school. These are going to be the best quarterbacks. They went to the best college teams. They were the most successful in college. And these are the guys. But, Trey Lance has some real big upside, but he played in one game last year, and Trey Lance played in about 14 games the year before. And in said games, he was a quintessential dual threat quarterback. There were some games where Trey Lance threw the ball 14 to 15 times. There's just not enough. You know what I mean? That's why I say Trey Lance is a little bit of a project. That's why Trey Lance to like Atlanta, I think could make some sense because you could sit behind Matt Ryan. He needs some time to develop. And, Mac Jones could play starting quarterback on day one and week 1 of the NFL season. That's why I think they may just take Mac Jones at 3 and give him the keys.
Can I give you some stats on Zack Wilson to get you a little stimulated?
You don't have to. There's nothing that you can tell me that won't get me as excited as I am about Zack Wilson.
Okay. No, I know. This is pretty interesting. 30-yard throws down the field in 2020. Zack Wilson, 28 passes, completed 20 with 3 drops. 82% adjusted completion percentage. Power 5 NCAA average is 38%. His is surpassed that at 82%. Patrick Mahomes, 30-plus yard throws in 2020, 32 passes, 10 completions, 2 drops, 38% adjustment. NFL league average, 36%.
He's got a hose. Look, I can't take credit. Sims says it the best. I'll just regurgitate.
That's a bar, by the way.
Regurgitate, right?
Oof, I'm at it. Let me put that one down.
Zack Wilson.
All right, cool.
I love the way he explains it because I grew up playing baseball, so it's easier for me to comprehend another good word. And so maybe the listeners out there who play baseball, it'll help them understand a little bit better. If you ask Justin Fields, Trey Lance. If you ask Trevor Lawrence, Zack Wilson, Justin Fields, if you ask all of the quarterbacks to line up, and you say, throw the football as hard as you can against the wall, right? Maybe Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields will throw the ball 105, right? They'll throw it harder, and Zack Wilson will throw it 101, right? Just as an example. But Zack Wilson can do it in every other way. Not like winding up and throwing it as hard as I can. Different arm angles. In the air, he can throw it harder, and his arm strength is just unreal. When it's not, I'm set up in the pocket and I could just fling it. You know what I'm trying to say? He just has this like unreal improvisational skill, and he's more like consistent with his heat. Mm-hmm. 10 times, Zack Wilson could probably like outthrow them, but one time they may be able to like hit the higher mark on the speedometer, if that makes any sense. I'm in love with his game.
Here's the thing about these quarterbacks, right? So we have 5 of them, right? We got Trey Lance, Mac Jones, Justin Fields, Zack Wilson, and Trevor Lawrence.
And Kellen Mond from Texas A&M.
But he's not going to go.
He's going to go in the first round.
Yeah, but not before those guys.
No.
It'd be shocked. That'd be a whoa.
That's a sleeper guy, by the way.
Okay, so of those five, one of them is going to potentially win MVP. The other one, I'm just telling you like the historical context of the 5 guys. Dude, the last time we've had something like this has been 2 other times. 2012, 2018. 2012, Tannehill, Brandon Weeden, Andrew Luck, RG3, and then Russell Wilson later ended up becoming the guy, right? So the guy that's won a Super Bowl, borderline MVP candidate, Russell Wilson. Then you got Ryan Tannehill, who is still around.
Good starter.
Can win you a playoff game, could take you to the AFC title game. We've seen his ceiling. Andrew Luck retired. He was another guy who was
MVP.
The guy, right? He was the guy. And then you have 2 guys that fizzled out, RG3 and Brandon Weeden. Let's go to 2018. Baker Mayfield, shown that he could be the guy last year.
Good quarterback.
Josh Rosen, big L on my end. Hot ox, right? Josh Allen.
Elite.
Small school, top 5 MVP quarterback. Elite.
A top 5 quarterback in the league this year, right?
That's fair. Going into next year, yes, he's a top 5 quarterback.
And Lamar Jackson,
who nobody was on, bro. Nobody was on.
Sims was, but
sure. But the consensus, right? And enough with him being a running back. One guy, Bill Polian, said that, and now anytime he makes a crazy throw, it's like not bad for a running back. It's like no, one legend said he was a running back, and now it's oh my god, he's a running back.
If you watched him in college, like. He was a quarterback.
Yeah.
He didn't. Again, he was another guy who, like, of course, there were designed runs, but he was another guy, as I mentioned, with like a Zack Wilson and a Mahomes or a Rodgers. He was a guy who would run to then try to throw the ball down the field.
Right.
That's.
And then the other quarterback that I forgot to mention is Sam Darnold. Yeah. So you got 5 guys there. It's gonna happen with these guys too.
Yeah.
So it's identifying which one you like, and you got to go get him, bro. If there's a quarterback that you like, you got to go get him. And I loved what Arizona did just a couple years ago. They really set a new precedent as to what should happen if you think that guy's not your guy. And then that guy is. They take Rosen in the top 10, and then guess what? Next year, we got a new head coach. That head coach comes in. He's like, yo, you know what? I don't like this dude. I like this dude. Bam. We're going to take the first overall pick, a new quarterback. And guess what, bro? Nobody gives a fuck about the Josh Rosen pick because Kyler Murray works. That's why I was telling you before, when you find your quarterback, nobody cares about the shit after that. They just don't. Or before that. And when you miss on other quarterbacks.
And that scenario reminds you of what's looking like at number 2 with the Jets, right? New regime comes in, Saleh, LaFleur. Douglas was there from the year before, but essentially it's a brand new regime. And they're saying, we want to go with our guy.
Can't fault them for that.
Can't fault them.
The way we sort of started this whole conversation about like the quarterbacks, you're right. It's the most glamorous one. It's the one that gets all the credit. But there are some stallions in this draft too, particularly on the offensive side of the ball. And I want you to rank them as far as guys you are excited about at the next level. Ja'Marr Chase, who I thought was the better wide receiver between him and Jefferson, which is crazy because you saw what Jefferson did. Came in fucking top 5 in yards. Should have been rookie of the year, in my opinion. Played more than Justin Herbert. Also, I just felt like, let me just ask you this.
Wait, you think he thought he should have won rookie of the year over Justin Herbert?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Dude, he was like
no, I know.
Top 5 wide receiver.
I know.
And as a rookie. And also, here's the thing, right? This is going to sound terrible. And it's going to go against a lot of the things that I've said in the past. I feel like you should have gave Justin Jefferson the rookie of the year because there's no way he could win another award again in his career.
Whereas
Justin Herbert's winning MVP this year. Let's go, baby. Fist me 25 to 1. That's on y'all if you don't bet it. The Justin boys.
It's the recipe.
It's the recipe, right?
Second year quarterback.
But, think about it, right? Like, I don't know. I thought Justin Jefferson was the better player on offense. I know that sounds weird, but for what he did for Minnesota,
extremely
and also
productive.
When you factor in the idea of what Diggs did, has there ever been a trade where both teams would do it again?
I mean, I'm sure there have been, but this is a perfect example.
This is a perfect one where like both teams are no one on NFL Twitter can be like, damn, yo, Buffalo got ripped off or Minnesota got ripped off. No.
Good trade.
Helped out Josh Allen and the Bills. They took the next step, and Justin Jefferson stepped in, and you basically forgot about Diggs.
Yeah. So you want to ask me about the wide receivers?
Yeah. So Ja'Marr Chase, let's throw in Kyle Pitts also from Florida. Not a wide receiver, but this new hybrid. He's a new school tight end. Jalen Waddle and Devontae Smith. Now, Waddle, he was a guy who got hurt last year. Mm-hmm. And then a lot of people that I've spoke to that follow the SEC and really know SEC football, and in particular know Bama football, they said he was really the number one. And then that's when Devontae Smith stepped in, which is wild to think what Devontae Smith did last year.
Heisman Trophy winner.
Heisman Trophy, just ridiculous. The route, everything is just elite over there. So who are you the most excited to see?
I'd probably say Devontae Smith. I know you didn't want me to say that.
No, it's not. I didn't want you to say that.
Let me say this. I think Ja'Marr Chase probably has the highest floor. He's like the safest one.
I think Pitts is.
Yeah.
Pitts is nasty.
Because
bro.
I hear you, but like, imagine taking a tight end in the top 5 and like, he's good, but like the team isn't productive or the team isn't good, and then it just looks bad.
It's weird, right?
The same thing happened for a wide receiver though. So who am I to say that?
Nah, but it's weird because Hawkinson was a top 10 wide receiver, tight end. Eric Ebron also. So it doesn't.
The best tight ends are the ones later in the draft, right? Think about the best tight ends in the NFL.
Seems like it.
Where did Waller come from? Practice squad. Where did Kelsey get drafted in the 4th round?
Kittle was a 5th round pick. He was also in the same draft class as Evan Ingram, who was taken in the 1st round, I believe 22nd overall. Yeah. So, but Pitts is fast, strong, could block, could do it all at the tight end. But again, it's weird, right? Like a defensive back will never be a number one pick.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing with like tight end. You shouldn't take a guy in the top 5, but we do throw the term generational talent a lot. But at tight end, he seems to be one of those guys.
The reason I said Devonta Smith is because, the route running is super nasty, elite. Sorry, let me start with like the flaws, right? Or like the knocks. The size is it, right? That's really it, is the size. But like what he did last year, I mentioned like the types of offenses, right? Like he wasn't afraid of contact. So like the one thing that I say is like he is small. He will get bigger. He will get stronger in an NFL program. But like he doesn't play small. He like tries to run people over and he like runs into contact. He's not afraid of contact and he's so quick. You can't really jam him at the line anyway. So the size thing I'm not as worried about, but I do think Jamar Chase has the higher floor because I just think he's nasty and he's good enough to like not play last year, right?
Yeah, and to still be considered.
And so is Penei Sewell, the offensive lineman from Oregon too. He didn't play last year and he's probably still going to go in the top 5 as well.
What do you make of the Giants? I'm looking at some mock drafts, and they got them taking a wide receiver. Just a wide receiver. Some have Devontae Smith. Why? Why would the Giants take a wide receiver? I don't get it.
I don't know.
They get Kenny Golladay. They got Sterling Shepard. They got Evan Ingram. They got Darius Slayton. Like, wide receiver isn't a need. The only justification to that would be that you want to give as much shit
to
Daniel Jones and be like, yo, fam, if you can't succeed like this, then it's a wrap for you.
Or you just know that these guys are elite and you know they're can't miss and you just want to take the safe pick. Yo, it's funny that you brought up the Giants because I feel like Giants Twitter is still mad at Gettleman for taking Saquon too. Is that a thing still? Like, oh, you could have like look at what the Dolphins got in the haul for the 3rd pick. If you wanted to take Saquon, you knew quarterbacks were going to go at the top of that draft. You could have moved back maybe a couple spots and potentially have taken Saquon later in the draft. Like, is that a thing that you know of in Giants, like the Giants fan base getting mad at like Edelman for still?
It is something that they hold against them. It's also when you take, again, we're always going to revisit this. Number one, because I'm a Giants fan, and number two, because it was such a polarizing decision. When you take a running back that high, you're telling your fan base, you're telling your team, you're telling everybody that's following the sport, yo, he's our missing piece. Our team is ready to win a Super Bowl. We could use a stud running back. The Giants were not in that position. How Eli Manning was tailing off. And again, we have to remember, it's easy to say this now because of how things played out. But at the time, Sam Darnold should have been number 1. Baker was sort of a project. Josh Rosen was highly touted. Josh Allen fit the mold of what I was saying, coming from a small school. You also had Lamar Jackson. But at the time, the decision should have been to take a quarterback because the team was not ready to win a Super Bowl.
I'm with you, but I'm even just thinking about it from the perspective of, if you want to take the running back, that's cool. Don't take him at 2. If you can gain a first-round pick and move back a couple spots.
You could do that, it seems like, with any...
And it's easy to say in hindsight,
right,
of course.
But it's more logical to be able to do that with a player that's not a quarterback because when you're going after a quarterback, you take him when you want to take him.
Yes.
Like, even if Daniel Jones doesn't pan out, if the Giants thought Daniel Jones was their guy, you take him at 6, bro, because you just never know. This idea that you could have got him in the teens... First of all, that's not true because I know somebody in the Giants organization that told me specifically Denver was going to take Daniel Jones, and Denver traded out of that 10th spot because Daniel Jones went before. So they thought that they could get him around 10, right? So when you have your eyes set on a quarterback, you do everything to get him. If it doesn't work, that's fine, but you still went after the guy that you wanted to get. Yeah. To answer your question, Gettleman has sort of won over some of the fan base.
Because of free agency.
Last 2 years. And there are some GMs, bro, that are mad good at drafting, and then they're mad good at free agents. Because with free agents, you've seen them.
You can evaluate them as pros.
Yes, exactly. Which I feel like I would be a better GM in that sense.
Yeah.
Like, we've always had these debates like, yo, what would you do with the number 3 pick? Would you trade that for Bradley Beal or draft a guy?
You know the proven commodity.
I know what I'm getting with Bradley Beal.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, and also just, again, it all also really depends where your team is, right? Like, It all depends where you hit it on the head before. Depends where you are. The Giants were in a running back away. Some teams aren't this one piece away. You need a lot more than that.
You know what pick is going to be interesting? What Cincinnati does at 5.
Offensive line.
Right, I agree with you. But you saw Joe Burrow is going to bat for Jamar Chase. They played together at LSU. There was a nice connection there. And they could use some wide receiver help. I know they struck. They hit on T. Higgins. They got Tyler Boyd over there. They lost AJ Green, but he's a guy who I think Cincinnati should go after.
Yeah. I just think you saw what happened to Joe Burrow and how he got hurt.
Yeah,
and he's running for his life.
I agree with you, man. I agree with you. It's tempting to add a weapon like a Pitts if like Pitts goes past 4.
Yeah,
and you're looking at Jamar Chase, Smith, Waddle, Chase. But again, you got to look. I agree with you. I think it's going to be offensive lineman, and it should be.
I'm going to be honest with you. The first 4 picks are going to be quarterbacks.
So you think Atlanta goes after a quarterback?
If they don't, they trade out. I think Carolina can move up. I think, I think there are teams that I really think Carolina could move up without a doubt. I wouldn't be surprised if Atlanta took a quarterback, but I also think Carolina can move up as well. For sure. I think it's going to be Lawrence, Wilson, Mac Jones, probably Justin Fields. It's going to be the 4 quarterbacks. And then, you make your pick at 5. You get that.
Atlanta's probably where you're going to see a trade.
Yeah. I really think Carolina could be the one that moves up.
So do you trade with Carolina if you're Atlanta in division?
Yeah, because maybe Carolina is higher on Justin Fields and maybe Atlanta's higher on Trey Lance.
I understand that, but what I'm saying is say you're Carolina and you're Atlanta and I come to you and I'm like, I want to make this trade. I want to move up and take your spot. But then if I hit on that quarterback, if I like Justin Fields and I'm Carolina and I hit on him, that's going to hurt you for the foreseeable future.
I don't think...
You don't think that gets
No, I think it's different if you're trading like a superstar in division. I don't think it's the same if you're trading draft picks in the division.
Okay, that's fair.
You know what I mean?
I don't know where I side on this one. I'm just curious if you think that plays into it.
Alan will probably tell you Atlanta has holes.
Yeah, a lot of them.
Atlanta has a lot of holes. They can move back. Maybe they like Trey Lance, and maybe they know that they could sit him behind Matt Ryan. And Trey Lance played 1 game last year. the literal first one and done, by the way. Redshirt sophomore. Redshirt sophomore, played that year, killed it. Then the next year, the junior season, because of COVID or whatever, they only played 1 game. It was like a showcase game. Trey Lance didn't even play that great, by the way. And that's it. One of the first legit one and dones in college football. He could be good too, man, but he needs time. Same thing with Justin Fields. I think Justin Fields needs a little bit of time too. Unless the offense is just straight, with the running game, with a lot of running plays built in for him, because he's not going to be a guy on day one that could make every throw. And I know you think what does that mean? There's some accuracy issues on some of the short stuff, and he's great down the field, and he can move. He's a great runner. He'll run people over. He's like a Cam Newton, but like 1.5 inches, 2 inches shorter. Justin Fields.
Man, he just reminds me of Watson so much.
The one thing about that a lot of people speak very highly about Justin Fields is great leader of men. This is sounds like another cliche, but it's true. That he could galvanize the team. He's played in big moments. He's been the highest touted prospect for a really long time. That shit is real. You know what I mean? And especially at that position, that's important. And you would imagine if the guy gets into the right NFL program, some of the mechanics could get fixed. Not trying to shit on him.
How much do you think a team's upside moves in a draft?
I don't know. It depends, right? Think about the Dallas Cowboys when they drafted Zeke. Think about the Colts when they drafted Nelson, right? There's certain kind of points And you want to talk about like main top picks, right? Like
I'm talking about a team takes, like, remember last year, everyone had a boner about CEH going to the Chiefs. And, like, because, like, yo, you had the one thing they really needed, which was wrong, I thought, because Damian Williams was tremendous in the playoffs with them. You had a running back of that caliber. You spent it was the logic of you spend a first-round pick on an offensive position that you're lacking. You're just adding more talent to this talented offense. It didn't really move the needle for me.
it could take a little time, right?
But do you think there's a team that if they hit on said position, you'll like them more from a winning championship perspective?
I mean, probably
because I have one in mind. I feel like if Buffalo gets
okay,
a stud running back.
Interesting. Yeah, like ETN or something like that, or like Najee Harris.
That would be fire.
Yeah.
You throw a dude
the problem
like
is
that,
they just took. Not just took, but they drafted 2 years ago. They took the kid
Zach Moss.
That was last year, I think.
Last
right?
year, Zach
and
Moss.
Who was the year before?
Devin Singletary.
Yeah, but they haven't really shown you much, right?
Yeah. I think it's fair to move.
I thought you were gonna say Miami because Miami was a borderline playoff team. They won 10 games and they have a top 6 pick.
Right. From the Houston trade.
If you could, the Houston traded and the 49ers trade.
Right.
If you can, and with and what Miami did, which is genius, is Miami are probably identified at 3. Okay. And like I said, Miami's smart. They know the quarterbacks are going to go. Miami moved to 6 and said, the guy we want to take at 3 is going to be there at 6. Let's move back 3 spots and pick up an additional first-round pick. It's genius. They knew it was going to happen. I'm telling you, first 4 are going to be quarterbacks. Draft starts at 5. And I'll be in Miami for the draft.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Damn, son. Congrats.
Pitts would be dope on Miami.
Yo,
Pitts would be dope. Two tight end sets with Gesicki.
Yeah.
Like how Flores comes from New England.
Right. Yep. I was going to bring that up.
I'm just saying Pitts could be. They probably have Pitts, the highest rated player on their board. They probably said we're at 3. He'll probably be there at 6. We'll get the best guy on our board at 6
and accumulate draft picks.
Miami, I think, could really be that team.
Anything else you want to add?
Zack Wilson's going to be so good.
Hey, man, I hope so.
Trevor Lawrence has the higher floor.
Trevor Lawrence is the kind of quarterback that if he doesn't succeed, it has to solely do with the organization.
Because he has all of the God-given talent. Size.
There hasn't been a guy like him since Andrew Luck.
Yeah. And it's the safe pick. But there's Sims thinks there's untapped potential with Trevor Lawrence, which is crazy to think, right? He can beat you. He's 6'5", 6'6". He can throw the ball over you. He can make all the throws. His running ability is elite, right? Trevor Lawrence is going to go to Jacksonville and probably rush for 10 touchdowns. Maybe I'm exaggerating, but he can do it with his legs too, which is super impressive. Probably the higher floor. Like Trevor Lawrence at worst case scenario will be the 10th best quarterback in the league. You know what I mean? It's just he has so much of that ability and that talent. To your point, if it doesn't work out in Jacksonville for whatever reason, he'll go somewhere else and he'll be pretty damn good too.
Yo, you know what I love about him coming out? He's thrown the ball a lot in college.
Yeah.
Like they were a high passing volume team in the 3 years that he was a starter.
Yeah. Played in big games, not afraid of the big lights.
86-4 as a starter dating back to high school.
Yeah. But the one thing that look, he has thrown the ball a shit ton, but it's very college-y. Clemson's offense.
Ooh, there's a new draft cliche on him. High level escapability.
Well, he's an elite athlete.
Nah, he really is, yeah.
He's an elite athlete.
Ability to generate sudden torque for a drive velocity. Yo, they're getting elite with some of these draft cliches.
I have here written for Trevor Lawrence. Safe pick, consensus #1 guy for years. If it doesn't work out, you can just say everyone else would have done the same thing. Played in big games, battle-tested, not afraid of the spotlight. Special running ability. Throws to a lot of wide-open receivers.
Yeah. Well, T. Higgins is from Clemson.
Yeah.
That's the guy that was.
Now, that doesn't mean that's not taking anything away from him. But that's a lot of the same with Justin Fields. Justin Fields is throwing to wide-open guys. If he misses a throw, no big deal. He'll hit him on a post, and he'll be open again on the next play. He didn't hit him on that one, no big deal. The next drive, he'll throw a screen, and he'll break it for 80 yards because Ohio State is that good. Like, the Justin Fields stuff, there's some bad games where they're bad, right? There's some games where he just can't figure it out. And he has a bad game. So, but yo, Kellen Mond, bro, Texas A&M. I'm saying these guys so that when people hear the podcast, to be like, oh shit, let me look this guy up. Kellen Mond, Texas A&M quarterback. Lost one game in the SEC last year. They beat the shit out of UNC in a bowl game. Texas A&M thought that they got what's the word? They thought they should have been in the top 4, right? The playoff. What's the word I'm looking for?
Hosed?
Hosed. I was gonna say hosed, but that's not the word I was looking for.
Left out?
Left out. Yeah, you know what I mean. Yeah. Beat the shit out of UNC in a bowl game. Kellen Mond's gonna be really good.
There's a running back on UNC that's really good.
Yeah, bro. Kellen Mond's gonna be nasty. Serious arm, can move. Kaepernick-ish.
Interesting.
But more accurate and like.
Interesting.
But yeah.
Let's do a Patreon roll call.
All right, let's get it.
Shout out to all the members of the Patreon: Nick Chavez, Christopher Velasquez, Daniel Gibson, Derek Platees, Devin Rondon, Jake Powers, Ryan Pisner, Mike Wozniak, and Corey Johnson Hoops. Patreon.com/Veterans Minimum to join. Alexander Salim, get in touch with me. You won the crew neck for the month of March.
Let's go.
Check out the 6-pack with David Hill. Check out the podcast with David Hill from The Ringer if you haven't already. And he is sending me copies of his book that he wrote, Vapors. Have you gotten a chance to listen to that podcast?
I did.
Yo, pretty crazy that Arkansas was almost Vegas. Mad random, right?
Yeah.
Like, imagine how you feel about going to Vegas. That's how you would have felt about going to Arkansas.
Little Rock.
Like, wild.
Go
So it's very insightful. And yeah, please check out the YouTube channel. You can watch pretty much a lot of podcast clips. And for the most part, like this one, you'll probably get the full episode of the podcast as well. YouTube.com/Veterans Minimum. Impy, where can they find you?
IMPY718. You already know, on Twitter and Instagram.
At the Lamb Show is where you can find me. At Veterans Minimum is where you can find everything for the show. And we will catch you guys next time.
Peace.